The old cantina smelled of smoke and bitter drinks. In the far corner, away from the noise, sat a creature that made other customers nervous. Commander Veltar had 4 arms and skin like dark green leather. Scars covered his face and neck. His yellow eyes never stopped moving, always watching. The young woman across from him held a small recording device. She was nervous, but trying not to show it. Her name was Lisa, and she wrote stories for the news. She had come to this dirty place on Nexus Prime because someone told her the old alien had stories to tell. Stories about the war that ended 20 years ago. "You want to know about humans," Veltar said. His voice was deep and rough. "Everyone thinks they know humans now. They see them in the markets, buying and selling. They see human doctors in hospitals, human teachers in schools. They think humans are just another peaceful race." Lisa nodded and leaned forward. "That's right. Most people today think the war stories are made up. They say humans could never have been that dangerous." Veltar's 4 hands curled into fists. "Made up?" He laughed, but it was not a happy sound. "Girl, I wish they were made up. I wish I could forget what I saw humans do, but these scars remind me every day." He touched a long mark on his neck. This came from a human blade. Not a laser weapon or plasma gun. A simple metal knife. "Do you know why a human would use such an old weapon?" Lisa shook her head. "Because they had run out of power for their real weapons. But they kept fighting anyway. With knives. With rocks. With their bare hands." Veltar's eyes grew distant. "That was my first lesson about humans. They never give up." The cantina was getting louder as more people came in for the evening. Veltar waited for the noise to die down a little, then continued. "It was at Rigel Station, 23 years ago. I was young then, a captain in the Catherian Navy. We thought we were the best fighters in the galaxy. Our ships were bigger. Our weapons were stronger. We had ruled space for 1,000 years. He took a long drink from his glass. The liquid inside was blue and thick. The humans had just started coming to our part of space. Small ships. Weak weapons. We laughed at them. How could these soft pink creatures fight real warriors like us? They only had 2 arms. They were small. They looked weak. Lisa was writing fast, trying to keep up. "What happened at Rigel Station?" "We captured one of their trade stations. It was easy, too easy. The humans had left behind some of their people, 12 of them. We thought they were just workers who could not escape in time." Veltar's voice got quieter. "We were wrong. They were soldiers, led by a man named Captain Jiho Kim. I learned his name later when I studied the reports. I needed to understand what had happened to us. 12 soldiers took your station back?" "No." Veltar shook his head. 12 soldiers took our battleship, our biggest ship. 3,000 Catherian warriors on that ship. The pride of our fleet." Lisa stopped writing. "That's impossible." "That is what I thought. What we all thought. But humans do not care about impossible." Veltar touched another scar on his arm. "Captain Kim and his team used small ships to get close to our battleship. Our weapons could not hit such tiny targets without risking damage to our own ship. They boarded your ship. They cut holes in the hull. Then they did something no other race had ever tried. They fought in the empty space between the ship's walls. No air, no gravity, just floating in the dark." Veltar remembered that day clearly. Too clearly. Our sensors showed them moving through the ship, but we could not understand how. They were in places that should have been impossible to reach. They moved like they were born in space. How did they take control? They did not try to fight all 3,000 of us at once. That would have been stupid. Instead, they went after our power systems, our computers, our life support. They made the ship turn against us. Veltar's claws scratched the table. Then they did something that still gives me nightmares. They opened the ship to space. On purpose. Let all the air out, but that would kill them too. Humans wear suits that keep them alive in space. Better suits than ours. While we were trying not to die from lack of air, they were still fighting. I saw one of them, a young soldier named Minho Park, get his suit torn open. Do you know what he did? Lisa waited. He used his own body to plug a hole in the ship's wall. He knew he would die, but it let his friends complete their mission. He smiled as he died. Smiled. The cantina had grown quiet around them. Other customers were listening now, even though they pretended not to. 8 humans survived that battle. 8 out of 12. But they had captured our greatest ship. I watched from another vessel as they raised their flag over our battleship. Their flag made from cloth, not energy fields like ours. Such a simple thing. But it meant we had lost. Veltar finished his drink. That was the first time I saw humans fight. I thought it would be the last. I thought surely my commanders would learn from this. We would be more careful. He looked at Lisa with his yellow eyes. I was wrong again. Humans had many more lessons to teach us, each one worse than the last. Lisa realized she had stopped breathing normally. What do you mean? The Battle of Rigel Station was just the beginning. Captain Kim and his team had shown other humans what was possible. Soon human soldiers everywhere were doing impossible things. They learned from each fight. They got better. But you won the war in the end, didn't you? That's what the history books say. Veltar was quiet for a long moment. Around them, the cantina continued its evening noise, but their corner felt separate from it all. Girl, he said finally, that is what humans wanted us to think. That is the most frightening part of this story. But I am getting ahead of myself. First, you need to understand what they did to my battalion on the jungle world. You need to know about the hunt. Lisa looked at her recording device. It was still working. Tell me, she said. Veltar signaled for another drink. This was going to be a long night. Veltar's new drink arrived. The blue liquid seemed to glow in the dim light. He stared at it for a moment before speaking again. 6 months after Rigel Station, I was promoted. The High Command thought I understood humans better than other officers. They were wrong, but they gave me 500 of our best warriors anyway. Elite troops, veterans of a dozen wars. Lisa had started a new page in her notebook. Where did they send you? Corvain 3, a jungle world on the edge of human space. Our job was simple. Find the human base there and destroy it. Intelligence said only a small group of humans were on the planet. Maybe 20 or 30? Veltar took a sip of his drink. I should have known it was a trap. Humans do not do anything by accident. But I was young and proud. I thought 500 Catherian warriors could handle any number of humans. The old alien's 4 hands moved as he talked, like he was still giving orders to troops that were long dead. We landed at dawn. The jungle was thick and green, trees so tall you could not see the sky. Perfect for hiding. Perfect for hunting. I thought we would have the advantage there. But you didn't? We never even saw them coming. 12 humans, just 12, led by a sergeant named Hyun Lee. I learned all their names later when I studied the reports. I had to understand what happened to us. Veltar's voice got quieter. The first day, nothing happened. We set up camp, posted guards, everything normal. Then we woke up the second morning and found 3 of our soldiers dead, not killed in battle. Just dead, no wounds, no signs of struggle. Lisa looked up from her writing. How did they die? Poison. From the local plants. Somehow the humans had learned which jungle plants were deadly to our species. They had only been on that planet for a few weeks, but they knew things about it that we did not. That seems impossible. Humans make impossible things happen. That is what makes them dangerous. Veltar touched one of his scars. On the 3rd day, we lost 5 more soldiers. This time we found their bodies. They had been killed by the jungle animals, but the animals should have been afraid of us. We are bigger and stronger. What changed? The humans had learned to speak to the animals. Not with words, but with smells and sounds. They turned the jungle itself into a weapon against us. Veltar paused to drink. Around them, the cantina was getting busier. More aliens and humans coming in for dinner and drinks. None of them looked like warriors. By the end of the first week, we had lost 30 soldiers. I was starting to panic. My officers were scared. We could not find the humans anywhere, but they were always watching us. How do you know they were watching? They left us messages, carved into trees in perfect Catherian writing, better than some of my own soldiers could write. The messages were numbers. Counting down. Lisa felt cold. Counting down to what? To how many of us were left alive. Every morning a new number. Always exact, always correct. They knew exactly how many soldiers I had, even when I was not sure myself. Veltar's claws scraped the table again. It was a nervous habit he had developed during the war. The worst part was the sniper, a woman named Sora Choi. She could shoot from over a kilometer away, through thick jungle, in the rain, in the dark. She never missed. Did you ever see her? Once, just once. She was lying on a tree branch, perfectly still. I watched her for 10 minutes before I realized she was there. She could have killed me easily, but she just looked at me through her scope and smiled. Why didn't she shoot you? Because killing me quickly would have been merciful. Humans had learned that keeping their enemies afraid worked better than just killing them all. Sora would wound my soldiers instead of killing them. Let them scream for help. Let the fear spread. Veltar's voice was getting rougher. The memories were still painful after all these years. They had another soldier, Day Moon. A tracker. He seemed to understand how we thought, where we would go, what we would do. He could predict our movements better than we could. How is that possible? He studied us, like we were animals in a zoo. He learned our habits, our instincts, our fears. Then he used that knowledge against us. Lisa was writing as fast as she could. This was not the story she had expected to hear. By the second week, I only had 200 soldiers left. We tried to call for help, but our communications were jammed. The humans had learned our radio code somehow. They would send fake messages in our own voices. What kind of messages? Orders to split up. Orders to move to certain locations. Orders that sounded real but led my soldiers into traps. I started to suspect that some of my own officers were working with the humans. Were they? No. The humans were just that good at copying our voices and understanding our tactics. They made us turn against each other without any of us being traitors. Veltar finished his drink and signaled for another. His hands were shaking slightly. The end came in the third week. I had 40 soldiers left. 40 out of 500. We found a good defensive position on high ground. Rocks to hide behind. Clear fields of fire. We thought we could make a stand there. What happened? The humans did not attack us with weapons. They attacked us with fear. For 3 days, they kept us awake. Strange sounds in the night. Movements in the shadows. They put chemicals in our water that made us see things that were not there. Lisa had stopped writing. She was just listening now. My soldiers started shooting at each other. They thought they saw human soldiers when they were really seeing their own friends. The humans had turned us into our own worst enemies. How did you survive? I hid like a coward. I crawled under some rocks and stayed there for 3 days. When the rescue ships finally came, they found me alone. 40 bodies around me, all killed by friendly fire. Veltar's new drink arrived, but he did not touch it. Before I was rescued, Sergeant Hyun Lee came to see me. Just walked up to my hiding spot like he had known where I was all along. He probably had. What did he say? He left me a note, written in perfect Kithirian. It said, "You fought with honor. Live to remember us." Then he disappeared back into the jungle. That almost sounds respectful. It was. That was the most frightening part. The humans did not hate us. They just studied us, learned from us, beat us, like it was a job to be done. Veltar finally picked up his drink. I thought that was the worst thing humans could do. I was wrong again. On my homeworld, they showed me something much worse than being hunted. What was worse than that? Being understood. Completely understood. Having every secret of your species laid bare and used against you. But that is a story for later. Lisa looked at her notes. Page after page of impossible things. How many humans died on Corvain 3? None. All 12 humans survived. They celebrated their victory by sending a message to my fleet, in perfect Kithirian, thanking us for the training exercise. Training exercise? They called our battle a training exercise. Like we were not real enemies, just practice targets. That hurt worse than losing 500 soldiers. The cantina was getting loud again. Veltar seemed tired, older somehow. I need another drink before I tell you about the siege, about what they did to my homeworld, about how they broke an entire planet without firing a single shot. Lisa nodded and turned to a fresh page. She was beginning to understand why other species feared humans, and why they had good reason to. Veltar stared at his drink for a long time. The blue liquid had stopped glowing and looked almost black now. Around them, the cantina was full of evening customers, aliens and humans eating together, talking together, laughing together. It seemed impossible that these same species had once tried to destroy each other. After Corvain 3, I was brought home. Veltar said finally. The High Command wanted to hear my report in person. I told them everything I had seen. Everything the humans could do. Lisa waited with her pen ready. They did not believe me. 500 elite soldiers killed by 12 humans? Impossible, they said. I must have made mistakes. I must have been a bad commander. What did they do? They gave me a desk job, studying reports from other battles. I read files from dozens of worlds where humans had fought. The same patterns everywhere. Small human forces defeating much larger alien armies. Always learning. Always adapting. Always winning. Veltar's 4 hands moved restlessly on the table. Then the humans came to Kitharos Prime, my homeworld. 10 billion Catherians lived there, the heart of our empire. Surely we thought they could not threaten our home. How many humans came? One fleet, maybe 50 ships. We had 500 ships defending the planet. Each of our ships was twice the size of theirs. We should have crushed them easily. Lisa was taking notes again. But you didn't? Admiral Wu Jin commanded their fleet. I learned his name later, like all the others. He did something no enemy had ever done before. He did not try to invade our planet. He just waited outside our system. Waited for what? For us to defeat ourselves. The humans began what they called a siege, but it was not like any siege in our history books. They did not try to starve us or cut off our supplies. Veltar took a small sip of his drink. Instead, they studied us. For 3 years, they watched and learned everything about our society, how we communicated, how we made decisions, how we thought. 3 years seems like a long time. Humans think in decades and centuries, not months and years. 3 years was nothing to them. Just enough time to understand us completely. Lisa looked up from her writing. What did they do with what they learned? They turned our own technology against us. They had an engineer named Nari Yang, a woman who could look at our machines and understand them faster than the aliens who built them. How is that possible? Humans see patterns that other species miss. Nari Yang took apart one of our communication devices. Within a week, she had built a better version. Within a month, she was broadcasting fake orders to our fleet. Veltar's voice got quieter. Our own ship started following human orders instead of Catherian ones. But the humans were so good at copying our command structure that most ships never realized they were taking orders from enemies. The humans took control of your fleet? Not control. That would have been too obvious. They just made small changes, sent ships to the wrong places, delayed important messages, made us less efficient. We thought we were having equipment problems. Lisa was writing faster now. What else did they do? They had a doctor named Kang Su. He studied Catherian prisoners from other battles. He learned about our biology, our psychology, our deepest fears. Fears? Every species has things that terrify them more than death. For Catherians, it was the loss of our scales. Our skin is our pride, our identity. Smooth skin means sickness or shame. Veltar touched his scarred face. Dr. Kang created a weapon that made our scales fall off. Not deadly, not painful, just embarrassing, humiliating. A weapon that caused embarrassment? You do not understand. For a Catherian warrior to lose his scales is worse than death. It means he is weak, diseased, no longer fit to fight or lead or even live among other Catherians. Lisa stopped writing. That seems cruel. It was brilliant. Cruel but brilliant. The humans could have killed us all with poison gas or nuclear weapons. Instead, they found a way to make us surrender without anyone dying. Veltar's claws scratched deep marks in the table. Half our population surrendered rather than risk losing their scales. The other half wanted to keep fighting, but they could not do it alone. What about the Catherians who wanted to keep fighting? The humans had another weapon for them. Sound weapons that made us remember things we wanted to forget. Memories from when our species was young, when we were just animals hiding from predators. Ancestral memories. Every species carries the fears of their ancestors in their genes. Most of the time, these memories stay buried, but the humans found a way to bring them back, to make us feel like prey animals again. Veltar was quiet for a moment. The cantina noise seemed very far away. I was in the capital city when they used the sound weapon. Suddenly, I was not a military commander anymore. I was a small, scared creature hiding from something huge and hungry. I could not think clearly, could not give orders, could barely remember my own name. How long did it last? Only a few minutes, but it felt like hours. When it was over, most of our soldiers could not fight anymore. They were too afraid, too ashamed. The humans had broken our warrior culture without killing anyone. Lisa looked at her notes, pages and pages of impossible tactics. How did the war end on your world? Admiral Wu Jin came to our capital city personally. Alone, no guards, no weapons. He walked into our highest government building and asked to speak with our leaders. Wasn't that dangerous for him? He spoke perfect Catherian, better than some of our own politicians. He knew our customs, our traditions, our laws. He showed more respect for our culture than some Catherians did. Veltar finished his drink. He offered us terms. Surrender with honor. Keep our government, our traditions, our way of life. All we had to do was accept human observers. Teachers, doctors, traders. That doesn't sound so bad. It was not bad. That was the problem. We expected conquest. slavery, death. Instead, they offered us partnership, friendship. It was more frightening than any threat. Why was friendship frightening? Because we could not understand it. Why would humans help their former enemies? What did they want from us? What was their real plan? Lisa put down her pen. What was their real plan? I am still not sure. Even after 20 years, I do not understand what humans really want. They helped rebuild our cities. They shared their technology. They healed our wounded. They treated us better than we had treated ourselves. That sounds like a good thing. Maybe it was. Maybe it is. But it means humans are playing a game with rules we do not understand. They are thinking steps ahead of everyone else, planning for a future we cannot even imagine. Veltar looked around the cantina. Humans and aliens sharing meals, sharing jokes, sharing lives. Look around you. Humans everywhere. Not as conquerors, but as friends, as partners, as family. They won the war by making us love them instead of fear them. Is that such a bad thing? I do not know. But I know this. Humans do not do anything by accident. Every friendship has a purpose. Every kindness has a reason. They are still playing the same game they played during the war. We just do not know what the next move will be. Lisa felt a chill run down her spine. What do you think they're planning? That is what I will tell you next. About the prison camp where they kept me. Where they showed me the most frightening thing of all. How much they cared about their enemies. How they weaponized mercy itself. Veltar signaled for another drink. But first I need to prepare myself. Some memories are harder to face than others. Veltar's new drink arrived, but he did not touch it right away. He sat quietly looking at his forehands. The scars on them told stories of battles fought and lost. Lisa waited patiently. She was learning that rushing the old alien was not wise. After my homeworld surrendered, I was taken prisoner. Veltar said finally. I expected torture, pain, humiliation. That is what we would have done to human prisoners. What happened instead? They put me in a place called Camp Harmony. A human name for a human idea. 5,000 alien prisoners from a dozen different species. All of us enemies of humanity. All of us expecting to die. Veltar picked up his drink but only held it. The camp commander was Colonel Bin Park, a human who spoke 7 alien languages perfectly. He welcomed us personally, each of us, by name. He knew all your names. He knew everything about us. Our military ranks, our family histories, our favorite foods, our religious beliefs. It was impossible. But humans make impossible things happen. Lisa was writing again, trying to keep up with the story. The first night I lay on my bed waiting for the interrogation to begin, waiting for the pain. Instead, a human doctor came to check my wounds. The injuries I had gotten during the battle for my homeworld. They gave you medical care? Dr. Yeon Kim. A young woman who treated my injuries better than our own military doctors ever had. She spoke to me in perfect Catherian, asking about my pain levels, my medical history, any allergies I might have. Veltar's voice got softer. She was gentle, kind, professional, like I was a patient, not a prisoner. It confused me more than torture would have. What was confusing about it? Humans were not supposed to be kind. They were supposed to be monsters, enemies, evil creatures who wanted to destroy us. But Dr. Kim treated me like I was her own people. Lisa looked up from her notes. Maybe they were just being civilized. That is what I thought at first. But I was wrong. Everything humans do has a purpose. Even their kindness. Veltar finally took a sip of his drink. Dr. Kim did not just heal my body. She healed my mind too. She called it therapy. Talking about my experiences, my fears, my trauma from the war. That sounds helpful. It was helpful. Too helpful. While she was making me feel better, she was also learning everything about me. My weaknesses, my secrets, my deepest fears and hopes. She was studying you, all of us. Every prisoner in the camp. The humans had turned mercy into a weapon. They made us grateful to them while they learned our species' secrets. Veltar's claws scratched the table again. There was a guard named Ho Jung, a human sergeant who was always kind to prisoners. He would bring us extra food, help us contact our families, listen to our problems, and that sounds nice. It was nice. That was the problem. Ho Jung made friends with prisoners from 17 different species. He learned about our cultures, our technologies, our military strategies, all while making us feel like he cared about us personally. Lisa stopped writing. Did he care about you? I do not know. Even now, 20 years later. I cannot tell if human kindness is real or just another tactic. Maybe it is both. Veltar was quiet for a moment, lost in memories. The most frightening thing was how well the camp worked. Prisoners from different species who had been enemies for centuries were becoming friends, sharing knowledge, learning from each other. That sounds like a good thing. The humans were not just studying us individually. They were learning how different species could work together, how to build alliances, how to create peace between natural enemies. For what purpose? I am still not sure. But I know humans never do anything without a long-term plan. They were preparing for something bigger than just one war. Lisa was writing faster now. What else did they do in the camp? They offered us choices. Humans love giving choices. We could stay in the prison, or move to human colonies as free citizens. We could keep our old jobs or learn new ones. We could contact our families or start new lives. Most prisoners chose to stay with the humans. Half of us. Maybe more. The humans had given us better lives as prisoners than we had as free citizens of our own empires. Better food, better medicine, better treatment. Veltar's voice got bitter. They showed us how badly our own governments had treated us, how little our own people had cared about us. It was a cruel kind of education. Did you choose to stay? No, I chose to go home. But it was not easy. By the time I left the camp, I had human friends. Real friends. People who had shown me more kindness than my own species ever had. Why did you leave then? Because I needed to understand what humans were really doing. I needed to warn my people. Or try to. Veltar finished his drink. Before I left, Hojang gave me a gift. A communication device. He said I might need a friend someday. Did you ever use it? Many times. When I had questions about human behavior, when I needed advice, when I was lonely, Hojang always answered. Always helped. Never asked for anything in return. Lisa looked at her notes. It sounds like he really was your friend. Maybe, or maybe he was just a very good spy. With humans, I can never tell the difference. What happened when you got home? I tried to warn my government about what I had learned, about how humans studied their prisoners, how they turned mercy into intelligence gathering, how they were planning something bigger. Did they listen? They thought I had been brainwashed, corrupted by human propaganda. They said I was seeing conspiracies where none existed. Veltar's four hands moved restlessly. But I was right. Within 5 years, humans were everywhere. Not as conquerors, but as helpers. Doctors, teachers, engineers, traders, making themselves essential to every alien society. Is that bad? I do not know. Human doctors saved millions of alien lives. Human teachers educated a generation of alien children. Human engineers built better cities, better ships, better technology. But it also means humans understand us completely. They know our weaknesses, our needs, our desires. They have made themselves so useful that removing them would cause chaos. Lisa put down her pen. You think it was all planned? I know it was planned. The war, the mercy, the integration. All part of one long strategy. Humans think in centuries, not years. They were playing a game we did not even know existed. What's the end game? That is what I will tell you next. About the real revelation, about what humans are really planning. About why the war was never about conquest at all. Veltar looked around the cantina again. But first let me ask you something, young lady. What is your real name? Lisa looked surprised. What do you mean? I mean, what species are you really? Because no human reporter would ask such simple questions about such complex plans. Unless, of course, you were not really here to learn about humans at all. Lisa's expression changed. The nervous young reporter was gone. In her place sat someone much more confident, much more dangerous. Very good, Commander Veltar. You are still sharp after all these years. Veltar nodded slowly. I should have known. Humans never do anything by accident, not even casual conversations in dirty cantinas. The woman who was not named Lisa smiled. My real name is Dr. Sua Kim. I study how other species understand human behavior. Your story has been very educational, and now you get to learn the final lesson. The one that will explain everything you have been wondering about for 20 years. Veltar reached for Hojang's communication device, still in his pocket after all these years. I think I am ready. Dr. Sua Kim smiled as she watched Veltar's reaction. The old Catherian's four hands were shaking slightly as he held the communication device Hojang had given him 20 years ago. You are wondering if you should call your friend, Sua said, wondering if it would be seeking comfort or walking into another trap. The thought had crossed my mind, Veltar replied. His voice was steady, but his eyes showed fear. Both, probably. Humans are complicated that way. Sua put away her notebook and recording device. But before you decide, let me tell you the rest of the story. The part you have been trying to figure out for 2 decades. Veltar set the device on the table between them. I am listening. The war was never about conquest, Commander. It was about assessment, a test. A way for humanity to learn everything about galactic civilization before revealing our true capabilities. Assessment of what? Of every major species in the galaxy. Their military strength, their technology, their psychology, their weaknesses. We needed to know who we were dealing with before we made ourselves known. Sua leaned back in her chair. Around them, the cantina continued its evening routine. Aliens and humans sharing meals, completely unaware of the conversation happening in the corner. You see, Earth was never humanity's only world. We have been spreading through space for thousands of years. Slowly, carefully, quietly. Building colonies, studying alien species, preparing for contact? Veltar's eyes widened. How many worlds? Hundreds. Maybe thousands. We learned long ago that revealing ourselves too quickly leads to conflict. Better to understand our neighbors first. The war was theater, a performance designed to show us what each species could do under pressure. How they fought, how they adapted, how they thought. You and your people were not enemies. You were teachers. Veltar's claws dug deep marks in the table. 500 of my soldiers died on Corvain 3. I know. And Sergeant Hyun Lee carried their names with him for the rest of his life. Human soldiers do not forget the cost of knowledge, even when that knowledge saves millions of lives later. How does their death save lives? Because we learned how to defeat Catherian tactics without destroying Catherian people. When the Zephyrian Empire declared war on your species 3 years ago, human advisors helped you win that conflict with minimal casualties. Sua's expression became serious. Every lesson learned during our war has been used to prevent larger conflicts since. The galaxy is more peaceful now than it has been in 1,000 years. But you manipulated us, lied to us, made us dance to your tune. Yes, and in return we gave you better medicine, better technology, better lives. Was it a fair trade? I honestly do not know. That is for each species to decide. Veltar was quiet for a long moment. What do you want from us now? Nothing you are not already giving. Friendship, trade, cooperation, the chance to build something better together. And if we refuse? Then you refuse. Humans do not force friendship. We make ourselves useful and let others choose whether they want our help. Sua smiled again. But very few species choose to refuse indefinitely. Human medicine is too good. Human technology is too advanced. Human teachers are too effective. You make yourselves essential. We make ourselves helpful. There is a difference, though I admit it can be hard to see sometimes. Veltar picked up the communication device again. What about Hojang? Was our friendship real or just another mission? Why do you not ask him yourself? He is probably wondering why you have not called in 6 months. He would tell me the truth. Humans value honesty, sometimes more than other species are comfortable with. Veltar activated the device. Within seconds, a familiar voice answered. Veltar, my old friend. How are you? How is retirement treating you? Hojang. Veltar's voice was softer now. I have been talking to one of your people, learning some uncomfortable truths. Ah, Dr. Kim, I assume. She said she was going to interview you for her research. You knew about this? I suggested you as a subject, actually. You have always been one of the more perceptive aliens I have worked with. Your insights would be valuable. Veltar looked at Sua, who was listening with interest. Hojang, I need to ask you something directly. Was our friendship real, or was it just part of your mission? The communication device was quiet for a moment. Then Hojang's voice came back, sounding older and more tired. Veltar, my friend, that is the hardest question you could ask, because the honest answer is both. Explain. I was assigned to study you, yes, to learn about Catherian psychology and culture. That was my job, but somewhere along the way, you became a real friend, someone I cared about personally. How do I know which parts were real? Because I'm still here 20 years later answering your calls. Because I attended your daughter's wedding last year, even though she had nothing to do with my mission. Because I worry about your health and your happiness. Veltar's hands were steady now. And the mission? Completed years ago. Everything I needed to learn about Catherians I learned in the first 5 years. Since then, our friendship has been just that. Friendship. Sua watched this exchange with professional interest. This was exactly the kind of data she needed for her research. Ho Jiang, Veltar said. Am I speaking to a spy or a friend right now? Right now? Just a friend. A friend who misses the old days when we could sit together and argue about military strategy over drinks. Those were good times. They were. And Veltar, Dr. Kim is good people. You can trust her mostly, Sua laughed. Thanks for the qualified endorsement, Sergeant. You earned it, Doctor. Take care, my friend. The connection ended. Veltar set the device down and looked at Sua. You study how other species understand humans, he said. What have you learned from our conversation tonight? That you understand us better than most. You see the patterns, the long-term planning, the complexity of our motivations, but you still do not trust us completely, or should I? Trust is something each individual has to decide for themselves. But I can tell you this, humanity's goal is not domination. It is integration. We want to be part of galactic civilization, not rulers of it. What about the next phase you mentioned earlier? Sua's expression became more serious. The galaxy is bigger than just our local region, Commander. There are other empires out there, other threats, other opportunities. Humanity is preparing for contact with civilizations beyond our current reach. And you want us to help? We want you to choose whether you want to help. No pressure, no manipulation, just an honest invitation to be part of something larger. Veltar thought about this. What kind of threats? Species that do not value individual life the way we have learned to. Civilizations that solve problems through genocide rather than cooperation. Empires that view other species as resources to be consumed. You mean there are worse things than humans out there? Much worse. And some that are much better. The galaxy is full of possibilities, both wonderful and terrible. Sua stood up to leave. Think about it, Commander. Talk to Ho Jiang. Talk to your government. Talk to your people. Decide what kind of future you want to help build. And if we decide we want nothing to do with human plans, then we respect that decision and remain friends from a distance. But I think you will find that working together is more beneficial than working apart. Sua started to walk away, then turned back. Oh, and Commander, your story tonight was exactly what I hoped it would be. Honest, insightful, and educational. Thank you. After she left, Veltar sat alone in the cantina thinking about everything he had learned. Around him, aliens and humans continued their evening routines, unaware that they were part of a plan centuries in the making. He picked up Ho Jiang's communication device again. His old friend was right. They had been good times, even in the middle of a war. Maybe the future could be good too if everyone chose wisely. Veltar activated the device one more time. Ho Jiang, it is me again. Do you have time to talk? I think I have some questions about the future. For you, my friend, I always have time. What do you want to know? Everything. Start from the beginning. Tell me about humanity's real plan for the galaxy. That might take a while. I have time, and I think I am finally ready to understand. As Veltar settled in for a long conversation with his friend, the cantina around him buzzed with the ordinary sounds of different species sharing space, sharing stories, sharing hope for tomorrow. It was, he realized, exactly what the humans had been planning all along.